Welcome back to the Pulse. We're about to be talking about foreign players in Code S, but before we do, going to check in with Lauren Elise. What's going on in chat? Lauren Elise.
There's a lot going on in chat. I have a couple questions for you. Are you ready for one?
Bring it on. What you got?
Okay. Pick a number between 1 and 4.
1.
How fast do you think the meta game will progress or change in the weeks after HOTS launch?
It's going to be probably 6 months. We're going to see a bunch of different changes, different strategies coming out from the different players. I think some of them are going to be reluctant in streaming on what they're going to show until they go to these tournaments. We're going to see some real surprises at major tournaments.
The weeks, I would say nothing really. I think it takes a lot more time to figure out the metagame. It's going to be all over the place. But people are going to be like, oh, let's do Oracle Rush and let's do Reaper Rushes, and that's all it's really going to be.
It's going to be fun. It's going to be like a reset, right?
I think it's going to be chaos.
Remember beta when it was just like one base,
Beautiful
and then
chaos.
it kind of became, maybe I'll take a natural expansion.
And then fast expansions came out, and everybody was freaking out.
You know, I think the best way to learn when Heart of the Swarm comes out is to just do all 1 base all-ins or 2 base all-ins. And even though that, like, no, I think you're going to be very successful.
Breaking news, RotterdaM leaves to pursue pro gaming. I'm just kidding, Kev. Kev can play good
if the Void Ray stays the same, we might see that.
Might see Kevin winning Code S.
One of our topics in Pulse 2014, RotterdaM and Code S.
I like what you're saying, Andre, because I firmly believe that you learn StarCraft in phases. And Heart of the Swarm is going to be a new game. You learn the first phase before you learn the second phase, and so forth and so on. Now we're at a point in the Wings of Liberty where we're at phase 23. You know, what hive tech switch do I make after I go from Broodlords to Ultras? Then what? Yeah,
because you know what? You can't just bust into, let's start on 3 base and be like, okay, where do my units fit in? You have to go to 2 base or even 1 base to say, well, I can defend all of these with just this mothership core or something like that.
Cool. I do want to point out that it's going to be, even though it's going to be sort of similar as the Wings of Liberty, it's going to be completely different. Because back then we actually were all really bad at the game, even though we had Brood War Pros. I mean, I often tell you this story about Naniwa winning a Zotac final against Hey Pro on Scrap Station, where all that he did was proxy a Stargate in ZVP, and then like he hit 2 Void Rays and flew them in a natural and killed him. And he was so proud of it. He sent me the replay, and now he's like, you see this? He never saw it coming. But if you think about it right now, like proxying a freaking Stargate next to a Zerg natural, it's pretty unlikely that's gonna work.
Even for the casual gamers too, it's important. 'Cause I remember when I was a teenager and Brood War came out, and how different it was to play with medics in your composition as a Terran player. And I think it's going to be important too for a lot of players to get into StarCraft II.
What hotkey do you put your medics on?
On 1, bro.
But if you
what else do you put them on?
I don't.
You put them all on 1.
So do you A move medics?
Yes.
Yeah, they heal through the A move.
I didn't play Terran, man. I made Reavers all the time. Reavers were so sweet.
Yeah, it would be heal, and then the A and heal would bold out.
Ball of death.
All right, good question. Thanks, Lauren. Guys, keep chiming in with Lauren. We'll be checking in with her throughout the night. Our next real topic of conversation, though, foreign players in Code S. It is, of course, a new year, and with the new year comes a new season of the GSL. Of course, that's the world's premier StarCraft II tournament, where the best players in Korea all square off to win the world's greatest prize, led by the world's greatest casters, Tastosis. The GSL will be picking it up once again January 22nd. It's going to be a lot of fun. There are 2 non-Korean players represented in Code S. Huck recently making it through the up and downs to qualify for the round of 32. Stefano was seeded in. So we've got 2 pretty good foreign players playing Code S. I want to know, can they win? What are their chances? Let's start with Dan.
Okay, so I'm one of the few people in the minority here. Well, actually, that's what a minority is. It's a few people.
You are a minority.
I've been struggling with that my entire life.
Bamboo ceiling, Kev.
It's a real thing. The bamboo ceiling.
No, it is. It is.
It is a bamboo ceiling.
Get out of here.
Google it. And hashtag bamboo ceiling, hashtag YOLO. Guys, I think foreigners can compete in Code S. They can win games, but can they actually win the entire tournament? I don't think so, because if you look at their results in international tournaments, they're getting far, sure. And if you can look at this clip here, Sting versus Grubby, I think that was the best chance for Grubby to capture a championship in 2012. By far, the weakest Korean pool. When you play an international tournament, you're playing lots of non-Koreans and some Koreans. In Code S, It's 30 Koreans and 2 foreigners. The probability of you actually excelling all the way and being able to beat championship caliber players is very small. Let me tell you the run that Naniwa had. Now, I love Naniwa to death. His play is awesome, and he's one of my favorite pro tosses to watch. But when he went to the round of 8, he beat Keen, Genius, STC, Puzzle, Ryung, and Virus. That's all great Koreans, but it's all mid-tier. He got stopped by Dongregu and MVP. Those are the ones that are the high-caliber championship contending title players. Can foreigners compete? Yes, but can they win Code S? No. Boom.
That's a no from Dan.
No.
Strong no.
You know what? I think probably no, they can't win Code S. We have to define what winning is in Code S. Is it, getting first place and declaring you are the best player in the world, or is it, going 50-50 with these players? Because I think that's more reasonable, or at least a little bit above 50-50. And there's a lot of variance that goes with that. And I think someone like, Stefano or Huck are around that 50-50 range. The majority of foreigners are not. I think it's unquestionable. But can they win Code S? It's unlikely, but yes, I do think they can. I'm not necessarily saying any of them are the best players in the world. I wouldn't say Stefano and Huck are the best players in the world, but they have the potential to win. It's unlikely, but they have the potential to.
So your answer is kinda?
Yes.
It's kinda.
Yes.
It's 50-50 on the fence.
Yes, kinda.
Ben, it's possible.
Lots of things are possible, Andre.
Hey, man, it's variance. That's what it is. It's
What do you think, Kev?
Well, I mean, with two foreigners and 30 Koreans, obviously it's statistically very unlikely that either of them is going to win. But one thing that has always sort of bothered me is that people kind of put players in a class like, oh yeah, that's a Code S player, this is a Code A player, and this is a Code B player, and he is not on Code S level yet. Like, I really think that Code S is just a reward you get for your performance in a certain tournament, but it's not sort of like that defines your skill, because there has been plenty of occurrences of Code S players going to foreign tournaments and losing to foreigners, or even just losing to Code B Koreans, as they say it. So I think that you should just see it as any other tournament in the world. So can they win? Well, yes, because they can beat sort of these guys, but obviously it's statistically very unlikely with only 2 players right there. But take Huck, for instance, right now. Huck went through the up and downs. Should we see Huck right now as the Code S level player, as people like to say? Or is it just Huck had a great day, he managed to beat some people, now he's in a league that's Code S? I really don't think that defines his current skill level. So in my opinion, a player like Stefano, a player even like Huck, if he keeps practicing like the way he does right now, is able to win these games. But as I said several times, it's statistically very unlikely that either of those 2 guys is going to win the tournament. But do I think that Stefano has the skill to win it? Yes, I think so. But do I think it's going to happen this season? No, probably not. But I'm still a believer. Yeah,
look at Nesty, look at MC. They all dropped out. Yeah. I mean, it's very volatile.
Nesty's back in.
They dropped out, but they're back, both of them, and they're both former champions.
But even like MVP, he lost to Gosu User recently. I mean, these are all things that just prove variance.
MVP is like his arm doesn't even work. He's playing with his feet.
Yeah. Well, same with his right foot and his left hand.
Why don't we take a step back and realize why Koreans are so good? I mean, Korea has had the advantage of being the mecca of esports for the past decade. I mean, their culture nurtures and helps esports grow, especially with the players. And having that as your foundation has allowed for sponsorships, money, organizations, government involvement, and also team houses. Being able to be in a place dedicated full-time as a pro gamer, have great practice partners, and pretty much have a system around you to be able to perform your best is crucial for these players to be the best. They have the tools, they have the talent. However, since the release of StarCraft II, we've seen the tools more available in the West. More money, more sponsorship, more views, more eyes have been on esports, and more players are getting exposed to what Korea has to offer. We're seeing more Korean players move to foreigner teams and vice versa. Some foreigner players living in Korean houses for a while. And because of that, with that exposure to the type of training regimen in Korea, it may be a select few, but I'm going to say yes. Foreign players can compete and they can win. Let's look at the history of foreign players in Code S so far. Jinro has placed the farthest in the round of 4. Huck, round of 8.
Was Jinro ever Code S? Can we say
yes.
that?
Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
I mean, for his time, he definitely was. But we have to take a note of that back then.
It was early. It was early in the existence of Code S, but it's still Code S round of 4. Huck, round of 8. Idra, round of 8. Naniwa, round of 8. Mana, round 32. Thorzane 32 and Cent 32. So they have placed, they've competed. I feel that a foreigner can win it.
Like I want to add one more thing. Like for instance, when Naniwa had his great Code S runs, that was absolutely amazing. But if you look at Naniwa's 2012 overall, I think it's safe to say, I think Nani would agree, that it was sort of a disappointing year for him. Yes, those 2 Code S runs, absolutely fantastic. Everyone was loving it. We stayed up to 3, 4 a.m. watching his games, and we were all feeling it. But while he was on that Code S streak, whenever he left Korea, he was not like he was dominating the foreign tournaments. And how often don't we see these guys having good Code S runs, but then not dominating? Of course, it happens the other way around as well, like live winning Code S, going to an MLG, winning an MLG. So there are 2 sides of every story. But there are plenty of occurrences or like situations where people perform well on Code S, but they go somewhere else and they don't perform, and you can always blame it on Jet. Like you can always say like, oh well, Code S is a different league, you have time to prepare for your opponent. But at the end of the day, I just feel that Code S is just a league on its own. You get a reward for performing well in a certain league, you move on, but it doesn't determine your skill. And I still think there are very few foreigners, but we have them who can compete on that level, and if everything goes their way, I think they are able to win it skill-wise.
Yeah, look at Naniwa. He goes and streams, gets, what, rank 1 EU Grandmasters in like a week? That is ridiculous. And law of large numbers, I mean, if you look at something like that and you look at something like Code S, you're going to say, yeah, Naniwa, you're a lot better than the EU scene right now. But you might not be able to see that at a DreamHack where he goes to. You're seeing maybe, 10 games out of him, 20 games out of him.
I mean, I hear what you're saying, but I can't buy that argument explicitly because there's other European players that have done that before. Last 4 or 5 months ago, BSTQD starts a new account and wins 100 games in a row in Europe.
Yeah,
and
I'm not saying that alone, but still, it's an indicator. I'm saying these players are a Joe Schmo just can't do that. Even the Joe Schmo of pro gamers can't do that. And I'm saying Naniwa has he's the caliber that can do that. Now, I'm not saying he's the best player right there, but it's in his range to be called the best player.
I'm a little bit sad that Stefano's ZVZ is so shaky, because I really think if he had better ZVZ, I actually would believe quite a bit. And I still sort of believe, man. Like, I look forward to watching Ilias play, and as I said, it's statistically very unlikely that he's going to win Code S. If Stefano wins his Code S in his first season, I mean, that would just sort of mark him as definitely the greatest foreigner of all time.
It would be incredible. It would be absolutely legendary.
Because it's the first time that Terran's not the most well-represented race in Code S. There's like 4 Protosses in Code S this season. I do want to talk though. Like I think Huck will actually perform a lot better than people think. Like I think, because I pulled up some statistics. I know there's a lot of Huck haters, but I remember watching Huck a long time back in 2011, 2012, and I still really liked his play. And then he started dropping off. But this is interesting because with Bjol and Stefano as the 2 new players to Code S this season, that means we have 100 players that have played in Code S. Huck ranks 24th in the amount of consecutive seasons he's been in Code S with 5. That's more than Squirtle. That's more than Ryung. That's more than Liquid Hero. That's more than Tasia. That's more than the reigning champion Sniper. The second highest foreigner, of course, is Naniwa in general at 3. But I think Huck has a lot to prove, and I want to just tell people who doubt him, just pay attention. This guy might surprise you like he did in Up and Downs. Did you guys watch his games at all?
Just even look at the history. I haven't watched this game yet, but look at the history of the internet sometimes. It's like, well, he's in a slump. He's in a slump. It's like sometimes it's moving way too fast. We have to go back and realize how much they have accomplished so far. I mean, Huck has participated in more Code S seasons than any other foreign player.
Yeah.
I mean, we can say that, but I also don't think it hurts to be critical from time to time.
Oh, no, you want to be honest,
If we, like, Huck is an MLG champion twice. He had great runs in Code S, and then if he suddenly barely makes top 8 in Canada and then barely makes top 8 in North America, I don't think we are overly critical by thinking then that we expect more out of Huck. And it's great to see him perhaps getting closer to his old level again.
I agree. I hope to see good things out of Huck. I hope to see good things out of Stefano. I also am very eager to hear a pro gamer perspective on whether or not foreign players can cut it in Code S. Mana was there last season. I sat down with him the other day. Here's what he had to say about foreign players and their chances in Code S. I want to talk to you a little bit about GSL and what it's like participating as a foreigner in Korea. If we look back at Season 4 of the GSL in 2012, you participated both in the Up and Downs. You won your way through the Up and Downs, one of the only foreigners, along with Huck, to have ever done that, and qualified for Code S. Tell me, how difficult was it to make it from the Up and Downs into Code S?
I don't think it was very difficult. I think I was very lucky in these games because we had very long games versus Keen and versus Hyun, the games I won. I think decision making by me made me win these games, or maybe mistakes of my opponent, especially Hyun. in game 2, where he didn't even invest into tech to investors. I've been practicing a lot to get through the up and downs. It meant a lot to me to do well in there. So I was really happy to get through up and downs and advance to Code S.
Mana, right now we're discussing foreigner players' chances, or non-Korean players' chances in GSL playing in the Korean landscape. People have polarizing opinions here. Some say the Koreans have gotten too good, others say foreigners can still compete. I want to see what your opinion is.
I think we can still compete. I don't think there is a chance to a foreigner to win a first season if he goes to Korea and wins the season he plays in, like for the first try. Naniwa is the foreigner who's been in Korea for such a long time, and he's proven that we can still compete in GSL. He got to round of 8 twice in a row. So if a person who's able to put so much effort into staying in Korea and practice there with the best players, I think is able to do really well in GSL and even win the championship, even though if it's not a Korean.
Mana, my final question for you today: what are the chances of seeing a non-Korean champion of a GSL in 2013?
I don't know. I think it depends on the balance of Heart of the Storm. And the best foreign player, maybe, which will play the mostly balanced race, will be able to win the championship. I don't know. It's too hard to say the chances. Hopefully they are high. It's not possible for me to say the chances right now before Heart of the Storm is released.
If a non-Korean player came to you and said, Mana, I'm about to go to participate in the GSL, what advice do you have for me? How can I best prepare for the upcoming months of competition?
Don't put a lot of pressure on yourself. Try to believe in yourself. If you will not do well, then you can still compete in other tournaments. I've put so much pressure on me during GSL and it didn't help me at all. Practice, keep on believing, keep on practicing, and everything can be done by that.
All right, Mana. Good luck in 2013, and thank you once again for coming on and talking to us.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Mana, for your opinions on foreign play in Code S. Mana says maybe. For my part, I do not think that that foreigners are going to get it done because I think the Koreans are ahead. I think, as you pointed out, infrastructurally they're ahead. I think they're better now. I think they're going to continue getting better. And that's just the way I see it. I hope to be disproven. I'll definitely be cheering for both Huck and Stefano when they do finally go and play their games. But for now, I just don't see it happening. Want to know what you guys believe, what you guys think. We are going to have a little vote in chat before we kick it off to commercial. Lauren Elise, why don't you tell us what the rules are?
Okay. That's right, guys. Voting is just like betting, the exact same. And the question...
in our chat.
I bet on Barack Obama.
It should be the bet 2012.
Oh, man.
Betting from
This is
last
going to be
season.
interesting. I have 5 trolls all at once. Okay, guys. So this is what we're going to do. Are foreigners capable of winning Code S? Because this show is not all about what the 5 casters think. It's about what you think, too. Vote A for yes or B for no. Just A or B in chat. I will tally the votes and let you know after this 3-minute break. You're watching The Pulse. We'll be right back.